Alright, when we got war number 5, team is Nimrod, Void, and Odin. Odin will come later. But essentially, this is my first time on patch 6 concerning the new nodes. And so what I wanted to test out was the power game, specifically when it comes to moving the prowess. And so my game plan here is really just to slow play it up until my SP2. That's why I start with Power Start 1. And so even though my Nimrod is only rank 4, he's going to absolutely melt this Weapon X. Specifically when it comes to dealing with Weapon X's regen, as long as you're able to control it and in some way negate it, he's an easy fight. And plus with the Relic of Hulkbuster, I essentially shut Weapon X down fully, and that is the plan. Now, when it comes to Maw, with the tactic, even with a tactic defender, or not tactic defender rather, tactic attacker like Void, he can still be pretty annoying depending on the node seal he's on, since his hits are non-contact, if he has like an increased block penetration, or if he's on bubble shield and aggression prowess like this node, his specials can hit insanely hard. And so with that, Void does a great job of just utilizing the power control factor. And my goal here is basically just keep him to SP1 and not trigger Dex as much as possible. Now, when I'm able to get a buff, I want MD to trigger for Maw, mostly because I can use that against him to power train and keep him to that SP1. And thanks to Void's long dash back, I'm not going to trigger Dex or the degeneration at that often. And so really, it's just utilizing the Fury, power drain, then boom, SP1, dead. And now, I cut off some of the beginning of the next fight, but essentially all it is Path 2, Section 2. And so, when it comes to Void versus Mephisto, it's a match made in heaven. When Void came out, it was during Act 5, and it was during the times where Mephisto was one of the toughest defenders, because it was really hard to just deal with the aura itself. But when Void was released, he was essentially a hard counter to Mephisto in a way to where he has Incinerate immunity, as well as the power control itself. Now, at this part of the war, we were essentially tied, and we wanted to do our best in order to at least finish the war strong, to give us a good placement when it comes to reaching the halfway point of the season. Now, considering how our BG is currently doing, we are tied on deaths. Although the score is around 3-3 according to our battle group, that's more deaths than we want to give up. We just had some rough AI as well as connection issues, but nothing that we can come back from. Now, with this fight in particular, I haven't taken Domino on the new node, but I thought to myself, okay, as long as I have Odin pre-fights, as long as I heal up to full, I should be okay. Now, the mistake that I made during this fight was using a regen boost. In hindsight, I should have used an invulnerability boost. For one, I'm overflowing, and then for two, I essentially just didn't account for the prey on the weak node, because look how many temporary or expiring buffs I have. I have 6, and all of those are going to end badly for me. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I need to bait out this SP2 as soon as possible, but Domino gets a little passive. I managed to push her into the corner, but I panic here a little bit because she's at full red, and so with that, I'm like, okay, I'm in my cowardice mode when it comes to Nimrod, and I should be able to tank this SP3 without it doing so much damage. And I was correct. Now, the really impressive thing to me is just when it comes to the energy resist, specifically the shock resist from the node, as well as Odin's shock pre-fights, I essentially just don't take much damage, and it just tickles me right now. Now, the only thing that I need to really account for during Domino is when I essentially proc my Blitz protocol, I have to worry about the power gain and the power drain, so she's constantly going to go lucky most of the fight. I decided to chance it here and end my combo. She could have evaded, but thankfully she didn't, and that way I can just get out of this fight as soon as possible because I hated every single minute of it. So unfortunately that's the end of my war, but we did end up losing, and so it was truly a heartbreaker. We lost 7-9. Really tough loss.
Now, concerning the result of this war, it really put us back when it comes to solidifying our place in Masters, and we need to do a better job of communicating as well as boosting big, and we hope to remedy that by the next war.